Who today is selling as a 3P on Amazon? Maybe raise your hands. Okay, just a few. Who today is selling as a 1P, a first party? And I know I'm using acronyms. We'll define all these. Couple. Who's interested in selling on Amazon, right? Yeah, there we go.
Right.
All right.
That's why we're here.
So one of the things about Amazon is there are all kinds of acronyms. You'll hear us use them. You'll hear other. We're going to try and stop ourselves as we move forward. But like if at any time we don't, raise your hand and say, what the heck? Or give us this kind of strange look, and we'll go from there. We've been in this space for a little over 12 years now. Ian and I started a company called Sage Tree that work with manufacturers and individuals to try and figure out how to really make the .com side of things work as a strategic piece of their business. So many people have, way back then were saying, yeah, I'm selling on Amazon or I'm selling on Target or Walmart, but what that meant is they had somehow put it up and that was it. So what we're here is to really help kind of move that forward.
We oversee an agency today that's comprised of about 120 people, actually maybe 140 now. We're soup to nuts in terms of a sales rep organization, if you will, or a full service agency. And the goal is to provide all services to clients that need the help with Amazon, but we also sell to about 80 other e-tailers, so Amazon being the largest. We do an awful lot of business in Amazon today. We manage probably 300,000 SKUs on Amazon and maybe 60, 70 different product categories. So we've been doing this since '07, and actually in my previous company since the early 2000s. Back when Amazon was selling books and videos, if you remember that. And then they got into hard goods, and we kind of followed that trend. And today we're selling many types of hard goods, sporting goods, baby products, et cetera. And then now we're into CPG products, consumer packaged goods. So grocery products, as you know, is coming, and we'll talk a bit more about that as well.
So we're one of the top 100 third-party sellers. So 3P stands for third-party seller on Amazon. As a third-party seller, that means we're setting the retails. We're doing, all the work as if we're the retailer. We're answering questions when consumers ask questions. We're shipping the product out, but there's a lot of variability in how that does happen. We are the second largest pay-per-click advertising partner with Amazon today. That's pretty good. I hope we can keep that. So we probably manage around $7 or $8 million in advertising spend on Amazon between the different agencies that Ian and I are responsible for. So a big breadth, right? Everything from how do you get started to now that I'm started, how do I really drive that opportunity? And hopefully today we'll talk about some of that kind of entry-level stuff.
So the presentation we're going to go through today really talks a little bit about the landscape. Why is Amazon important? Why should you be interested? We see Amazon in the news an awful lot, but this is part of the reason why. If you look at people spending time online, if you watch the behaviors of your kids and yourself over the last few years, more and more people are spending more time online. So we know that grocery is coming your way if it is not already at your place in terms of being able to order online and pick up in store, or order online and have it delivered directly to your house. That certainly is on its way.
And think about it, it's really coming because of the change. So this next slide, you got the clicker, not me. So this next slide is kind of hard to read, but look at a couple of the things. Like look at the number of images shared in the, this is supposed to represent in 1 minute in 2016 and 1 minute in 2017. Look at videos, look at YouTube videos, right? Almost 2 million increase in videos. Look at Amazon sales from somewhere around 200,000 to 265,000 in 60 seconds. Right? This is what's driving a lot of that .com adoption. This is why you guys are here, because this is where retail is headed, right? Almost any aspect you look at, the number of Uber rides or Lyft or whatever.
How many of you have an Alexa at home, an Echo device? There you go, more than half the room. So although you might not be ordering with your voice today, statistics will say in a couple of years you will be, right, as voice technology improves. And that's really going to drive e-commerce adoption.
So in all aspects, right, it's changing. There are a bunch of different metrics that you could quote. And we thought about just showing a couple slides of the different projections of what's going to happen with e-commerce sales. But it's somewhere around 2 to 3 times is where it's growing, right? I mean, the adoption, and we'll talk about Amazon in a minute and how much they drive in the US alone, but that adoption is coming. That's why retailers are freaking out about it. That's why Walmart has spent so much money trying to catch up, right? Right thing to do. I mean, I'm amazed with some of the stuff they're doing.
You know, speaking of Walmart, last night at the bar, a woman beside me, we started chatting, and she was the former head of HR for Walmart. She retired 3 years ago. And so she's rattling off statistics, even from 3 years ago when she retired, about e-commerce and what's happening at Walmart, and Jet, and Mark Lowry, and the changes that are happening at Walmart. So although Amazon is driving it and they're the leader, there are some major players out there that want to catch up fast, and they're investing heavily.
Kind of cool place, the head of HR, right? I mean, come on. Go ahead. So, you know, this is what's going on. Everybody, you can't pick up a newspaper. You can't read something where they're talking about store closings and the poor giraffe, right? I mean, Toys R Us out, still around in Canada. But it's headed that way. And it started maybe 5 or 6 years ago with more stores closing than opening, right? So people have seen all these kinds of stats in the past. We're not here to try and say brick and mortar's going away. We don't believe that at all. But is it changing? Absolutely. Right? With what Amazon did with Whole Foods, does that mean they're going to get rid of Whole Foods? No. But, you know, something's going to change in there. Maybe it's we're going to go from 80% front of the store, 20% back to a 50-50. I think you're going to see a bunch of Amazon pickups in the parking lots. I think the back of the Whole Foods is going to be filled with cars and bikes doing deliveries. And you already see some of that happening, right? So it's going to be more of an experience. We're not saying they're going away, but it's definitely changing.
The traditional term is called omni-channel retailing, right? The combination of brick and mortar and e-commerce. And everyone was afraid of Amazon because they were a pure play e-commerce player, and then they get into brick and mortar. So they kind of is an endorsement of the brick and mortar side of the business. We're going to see more of those kind of mashups, you know, where I guess it was Amazon that teamed up with Kohl's, so you could bring your returns to Kohl's now to ship them back to Amazon. And so there's a partnership there between a brick and mortar, again, and Amazon, which is kind of interesting.
Has anybody taken something back to Kohl's? Isn't it pretty cool? I mean, I have. I had to try it out, right? You know what happens? On the return receipt, the back of it is a 30% off coupon for shopping in Kohl's. Right? Now, isn't that smart? They're taking advantage of the fact that using Amazon, they're driving traffic into the store, and Kohl's is all about the coupons. Never buy retail at Kohl's, right? But here's another 30% off if you just drop something
I never
off.
go to Kohl's except to return stuff to Amazon, and now I'm in there, you know, 3 times a year, and it's at the back of the store, so I have to walk all the way through the store. So there's a chance I might buy something. You know, they're smart. They're putting this together.
So this is interesting. So there's so many demographics, right? We talked about 9.5 hours, right? I've got 2 teenage daughters in college. I bet that's low for them. But no matter how you look at it, everybody's changing. And if you just click one more time, look at this. Anybody from 1962 forward is as equally likely to shop online as they are offline. Think about that, right? Our kids have been alive and shopping. I've got, again, 2 college daughters. Like, they've had online shopping available their entire life.
Yeah, anyone 25 and younger grew up with a smartphone, maybe 30, grew up with a smartphone in their hand. They were so accustomed to everything happening off the smartphone through an app. And that, as those buyers come into the market and they have first jobs out of college, all that spending is going to move online. So it's really headed in that direction.
And so, a lot of numbers up here, guys. We're not going to, the slides are going to be available afterwards as a download. I'm looking for Amanda and Mark somewhere, right? So everybody will get them to go read in detail. But look at some of the things that are going on here. The other big thing we're saying is online is not just about the purchase, it's also about the influence. Think about the last time you were in a retailer, I don't care who it was, even a grocery store. What's happening? Everybody's looking at their phones, right? What are they doing? They're comparing stars, right? Is this something I like or not like? That's called social proof. There's some guys out here on the, in the concourse that are just about social marketing and social proof. So something to think about. But like, it is happening where they're comparing and looking. They're also looking at price, sure, but the numbers are staggering depending on how you want to look at it in terms of what's happening in this online space. And that's why you guys are all here, I think.
So now we get into some more detail about Amazon specifically. That was the broader picture of just the online space in general. I think we all can agree that it's a great space to be in, and if you're not already doing something in the online space, maybe you should. It's a fantastic growth area. Certainly we've seen an amazing growth. Amazon, when we started in 2007, we founded our company, Amazon was doing $14 billion in sales, and now, I don't know the latest numbers, but a couple $100 billion. So
Yeah,
they've
look at what
done
we've
okay.
done for them. No.
Yeah.
I think it's my wife buying.
So-
Okay, anybody seen this picture before? No.
What you did? What is it? Do you know? Okay.
All right, it's really cool. So this is how Jeff Bezos described Amazon the very first time
1998, I think he drew this, or 95.
on a cocktail napkin. And it's supposedly framed in his office at Amazon 1, right, or Day 1. The building is called Day 1. There's a lot behind that if you haven't know. But so it's the flywheel, if you will, for success at Amazon. And the point is, it starts with selection, right? So think about it. That was fundamental to his process. He's looking for multiple people. Amazon is looking for multiple people selling even on the same SKU. So as you guys are thinking about setting up product, don't say, oh, there's 2 sellers of XYZ already. You could be the third, right? There's a whole reason and a story behind that that goes around to customer experience. So part of it would be customer experience. You're going to hear today from people talking about content development. Really, really important. I can't tell you the number of times I look at an Amazon page and there's some, bullet that's out of a catalog with a bunch of abbreviations. I don't have a clue what it means because I don't buy from a catalog. So think about, how can you really have that customer experience? Think about imagery. We'll talk a little bit more about images. Ian's going to talk about some image capabilities. But images, so that experience is really, really important. Then all of that's going to drive traffic.
And then with traffic, you get into advertising, right? So it's called AMS, Amazon Marketing Services, sorry. And AAP and AMG, 3 different marketing programs that Amazon has, or advertising platforms, if you will, ways to spend money on advertising. They've launched those programs in the last couple of years, and today you can't be effective on Amazon unless you're using AMS, which is a pay-per-click advertising platform. So that's where you spend some money monthly, daily, you can set a limit, and you're buying keywords. And you're buying keywords so that your listing comes up higher on the page, and hopefully more people see it. The more eyeballs you have on it, the better chance someone's going to click through and convert. So you got to get found, and then you need conversion. 2 different opportunities that you need to work on as you work through Amazon.
So you get more traffic, then that's going to drive more sellers because more people care about it, right? And now you're back around to how do we work on lower cost? Now, a lot of people look at Amazon and say, no, they're not really about lowering their costs. But you guys realize they've had 17 consecutive quarters of increasing EBITDA, right? Earnings. So they're getting better and better and better. They're building a little less warehouses. They're spending a little bit less. And they're beginning to amortize that cost. And now their profitability is going through the roof. So it all kind of works around to lower prices. I mean, this is the flywheel. So this is fundamental to how Amazon thinks and how you guys might want to think.
There were years working with Amazon where we'd work with a buyer and the guy would say, look, I have a quota this year of, I got to set up 30,000 SKUs. So bring me a manufacturer that had 1,000 or 5,000 SKUs. And there were times where we would bring them a distributor and we would have 30,000 SKUs. And the buyer would say, okay, set them up. And we'll order 1 of everything. And the distributor's jaw would drop. It was a $6 million order. But they literally did that. They don't quite do that as much anymore. They're pretty comfortable with the number of SKUs they have online. And by the way, any ideas? How many SKUs do they have live? How many items do they have live on the site today? Take a guess.
Anybody? Little guess. Hundreds of millions.
Over 500 million SKUs.
There you go.
550 million SKUs. The next largest might be Walmart at
65 million, somewhere in that range. They're growing like crazy.
12,
Go back 2 years
of that.
ago, it was about 10 million. So, I mean, they're going, but they got a long ways to go.
So having multiple listings is not a problem for Amazon. They enjoy that. They like that because it gives the buyer opportunities, gives the consumer different opportunities, different price points to buy at, different ways to ship perhaps. And we can explain some of this too.
All right, so here's the juggernaut, right? They're growing like crazy. I don't necessarily like the metrics on some of this, but really, this year, Amazon will be somewhere around 51 or 52% of the U.S. e-commerce retail. One seller, right? Amazon's going to 50 some odd % of the US e-commerce retail. Now, they're also going to represent 5% of North America total retail. Take out travel. But 5% of retail, that's when you count brick and mortar in as well. It's huge, right? You can't not pay attention to Amazon. It is here to stay.
So this was Bezos back in '98 and now in 2017. A bit of a difference there, right? He became a little more confident, would you say? He wasn't a multi-billionaire back then, and he is now. So I think he might be the world's richest man. There's talk about Amazon, the valuation of Amazon hitting $1 trillion. It would be the first time any company worldwide hits $1 trillion valuation. If you haven't watched their stock, by the way, it's up, I think, 60% in the last year. So it's pretty amazing, the growth in this company. I think it's still a buy, by the way.
This is another reason you're in this room. And if you're not thinking about it, right now is the time to be up and planning and getting your stuff handled for fourth quarter. I mean, look at it. This is last year's fourth quarter. Do you think Amazon did pretty well? Right? I mean, this isn't just .com. I mean, it's just amazing how much they've done, right? The Prime, the flywheel, the whole process that Amazon set up is about the domination of that .com. How about on Prime Day that just happened in July? Did anybody buy anything on Prime Day? Yeah? Did anybody buy anything anywhere else on Prime Day? Did you realize that the estimates are that somewhere like Walmart.com, Target.com, Kroger, all of those guys picked up somewhere around 60 or 70% of their July number just because of Amazon's Prime Day holiday, right? It's become the back-to-school shopping start.
I mean, who creates their own holiday? Amazon. That's what they did, their own holiday. It's pretty amazing. How many of you are Prime members, by the way? Did we ask that? Oh, wow, that's amazing. We've been asking that question for years, and the percentage keeps going up. And now it truly is 90% in the audience, typically, is a Prime member. And it's a great value, it really is.
So look at this last bullet. It said Cyber Monday in 2017 surpassed the Prime Day of 2017, which was the biggest. Guess what? The Prime Day of this July that just took place was their largest single day ever, even with that huge snafu that happened in the beginning. I don't know if anybody knows about that. Yeah.
The system went down, for a while.
Nothing like when it happened to Target a couple years ago when they launched that Justin Bieber thing, right? And it went down, and they lost the CTO. They got rid of it. That didn't happen at Amazon. Still, big day.
This is an interesting slide that shows some competitors here and what's happened. We talk about Amazon as a pure play retailer, but really they're a mass retailer. And so they're competing with the Targets of the world and the Walmarts. And Amazon here is in green going up. This is the percentage of people in the last, 4 weeks or so that have shopped on Amazon. And that number just keeps going up and up and up. And partly it's because of the Prime. Grocery is starting to drive some of that as well, but it becomes this de facto place to go, right? If you're already a Prime member, you just automatically go there. I figure I'm going to pay a little more, but the convenience is so incredible. The one-click shopping off an app off your phone. I can be anywhere in the country practically on a plane and order something that I need, and then it's there when I get home, and you just don't think about it anymore. That's part of what Bezos is trying to do, is give people back some of their time in their day. Right, so if you don't have to drive to a store and spend time shopping, it's great. You just save 30 minutes or an hour of your day, and he gave that back to you by creating a convenience. So this company, we talk about Amazon as being a technology company first, distribution?
Logistics. So
logistics,
if you
right?
talk about the competencies, tech first, logistics second, and a distant third retailer.
They just happen to be in retail.
So
they could have applied all those engineers to some other form. They just happen to be in retail.
What's Walmart? It's exactly opposite. Retailer first, logistics second, and a distant third, software, technology. They're each catching up with each other, but it's kind of cool. In that software space, it's this test and learn methodology. I was asking some people out in the hallway, when do you guys think Amazon first really got into food? When did they first make their public announcement that says, okay, I'm going after food in some way? What year? Besides somebody that was in the hallway and heard me say this. I'm sorry, you said
I heard
something.
a couple years ago.
Just a couple years ago, right? Everybody thinks that. So the first Amazon Fresh was launched in 2007, 11 years ago. Nothing happened for about 3 years. You just saw this one Amazon Fresh location, and then suddenly they were in 20, then 46, then more, and then all of a sudden they buy Whole Foods. And everybody said, oh, they're going to buy Target or Kroger next, right? There was that big rumor. Not yet. I mean, it may happen, don't get me wrong, but they've got to learn first, right? Test and learn. When they bought Whole Foods, it took them, a whole 24 hours to pay for it in stock price, right? You guys realize?
It's true.
So that's an easy
Yeah.
test, right? If it fails, it doesn't crater them. That's the difference, right? If Kroger or Target were to buy them and it fails, oh my gosh.
It's one
So,
of the few companies that is unafraid to try new things. Throughout the entire company, no matter what division, what department you're working with, they are unafraid to try new things. And if it fails, okay, we learned something, let's move on. It's pretty incredible.
all right, so Prime. It sounded, we asked a couple, maybe half the room or so is a Prime member is
No,
what I
most.
heard?
Most were
of the
Prime
room is Prime
members,
members? Like, this is something really, really important, especially if you're gonna think about a third-party seller. You've got to think about how to activate the Prime buyer. Why? Because they spend an awful lot more on Amazon, no matter how you look at it. They're there more often, they check there first, their basket sizes are bigger. So the question is, a third-party seller, how do you get to be on Amazon Prime? There are two kind of fundamental ways. One is to put product in the Amazon warehouse and let Amazon be that distribution agent for you. It's called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon. So you'll see on the listings, it'll be sold by Jimmy and fulfilled by Amazon. And that gets you your Prime designator.
I could sell this clicker right here. I could put this on Amazon and sell it, right? So I'd ship it to an Amazon warehouse, and it would go in their warehouse on consignment. I own it. It's in their warehouse, ready to be shipped to a consumer when they order it. Then I list the item on Amazon as a third-party seller. Consumer orders it. Amazon fulfills it. All I did was sit back and collect money. So it's kind of interesting. I have to pay Amazon a commission on the sale. So if this sold for $100, I might have to pay Amazon $30. Plus, I might have to pay the freight to the consumer. And maybe it sat there for 3 months in the warehouse. I might have to pay a little storage fee as it sits in the warehouse. So you're going to have some fees. But you're setting the retail price as a third-party seller, and they take the commission and send you the remaining money once the consumer pays them. Okay?
So the other way to go is something called SFP, Seller Fulfilled Prime. So what that says is, instead of putting it in the Amazon warehouse and paying storage and paying Amazon a pick-pack fee because they've got to pick it and pack it, and managing to their labeling requirements, which is tough, right? I'm going to ship it from my warehouse, and I'm going to do it within 2 days because that's Prime. So right now, and again, Amazon is always changing, but right now, anybody can get SFP status for 30 days. Now, they're watching every single metric, and if you miss, that's it, you're done. But as long as you hit those metrics, you keep that SFP certification, right? And now you can fulfill from your own warehouse. Now again, you got to be able to hit across the country. You got to be thinking about, and there's some logistics people in the breezeway as well. Where you're probably in multiple warehouses, or you're air freighting everything. Like, it can be expensive depending on how you're doing, but it's another way to go.
Here are some of the categories with the highest growth. You see grocery on here, of course. Luxury beauty is an incredible growth area. We represent Elizabeth Arden and Juicy Couture and Revlon, for example, and those brands are really doing well on Amazon. They're high value, they're easy to ship, so it's a perfect item for Amazon. And when you think about what you might want to sell on Amazon, think about $20, $30, $40 and up. If you're selling a $3 item, it's really hard for anyone to make money, right? With the shipping costs and the storage and the freight, it just is going to be difficult.
And as a 3P seller, we represent Drunk Elephant, right? So nice, small little package for $90. I love that.
Cosmetics are big, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to switch a little bit and talk specifically, again, just at a very high level about the 3P marketplace as a whole. And, this year, the 3P sellers, again, 3P stands for third party, which means you're the retailer. You're renting space on Amazon just like you rent space on eBay, right? That's the used clicker. You could sell that used clicker as a third-party seller. So this year, the third-party sellers will represent about 53% of items sold on Amazon, right? It's growing. So Amazon, I just saw finally the first report that started comparing Amazon and eBay, because Amazon is a third-party marketplace, just like eBay is a third-party marketplace. Walmart.com is a third-party marketplace. Kroger is launching a third-party marketplace in theory any day. Who's the other one that
Sears has a marketplace as well. There are a number of people out there with not that you want to sell
Don't sell
on Sears.
Sears.
Yeah, don't go down that path. But there are a number of marketplaces, right? So if you think about worldwide, Alibaba and Tmall and Taobao, these are all marketplaces in different parts of the world, specifically Asia. India's got marketplaces as well. South Africa, we work with a company there. So marketplaces are kind of the hot rage right now, and they will continue to grow. Everyone's looking at the success on Amazon and trying to duplicate that.
It gives them scale, right? Because now you guys become responsible for setting up SKUs, but it looks like Amazon's got the SKUs. That's what they're after. There's somewhere around 2 million or so third-party sellers on Amazon today. It's just going to grow. So we're not trying to say, yeah, there's 2 million, give up. Keep going. There's a lot of opportunity in that third-party marketplace.
Here again, Seller Central versus Vendor Central. We just want to make sure we're hitting on that well. So Vendor Central is the 1P side. We use 1P as first-party selling. That means selling to Amazon, where Amazon sends you the check, they buy the product, and they put it in their warehouse, just like you would sell to, Home Depot, right, to a retailer. 3P is the Seller Central side. So these are the vendor portals that you would go into to manage your products if you're selling 1P or 3P. And you log in, you see your products. That's how you set up your products. You set up a spreadsheet, basically. It's called NIS, a new item setup form. You send that into Amazon, and then you get the product set up. So it's quite a process. Either side of this is involved, relatively involved. There are online videos that can take you through a lot of this, and you can really learn a lot. Amazon has an incredible portfolio of resources on their site as you get into it as well. Who has done that here? I see some heads nodding. Yeah, a number of people have done that. There are also communities out there that can help you, people that are doing this and have done this and can help you.
So just making sure we talk about the supporters. There's somebody in the breezeway there that has an online tutorial section that gives you, what do we say, 500 hours or so of content to think about 1P and 3P. She's smiling at me. So there's a bunch of different ways to think about and figure it out. The big difference is he was saying 3P, you're the retailer. You're renting space on Amazon. 1P, Amazon's the retailer. 3P, you're answering questions, you're shipping, you're managing that whole process. 1P, Amazon's doing that.
On the 3P side, when you're the seller, you're setting the retail price point. That's a big advantage for some people. They don't want Amazon to set their retail. If you sell to Amazon, like you would to any other retailer, they have the right to sell it at whatever retail price they want to. So you sell it to Amazon for 20, Amazon can sell it for 25, 28, 35. In fact, that price can fluctuate throughout the day, and it does, right? Every item on Amazon, those 550 million items, can be repriced by their system every 15 minutes on Amazon. So if you check one item throughout the day, you'll see it ebbs and flows up and down. And it's doing that, the system, the algorithm, right, you're dealing with the computer system at Amazon, is doing that because it's watching what other third-party sellers are selling that exact same product for. So if it initially priced it at 35 and then there are other third-party sellers that are undercutting, their price will drop. Amazon's price will drop, and it'll match. It'll only go down so far, but it can go pretty deep. And then it might come back up. Third party sells out and has no more product left, and then Amazon's price goes back up.
It's even more insidious. So we've got a client that sells contact lens solution, right? And they sell that in bottles like huge at Costco. And Costco's the only one that gets that 32-ounce big bottle of contact lens solution. Everywhere else, they sell it in 12 ounce. Well, the 12 ounces got a price per ounce, and the 32 ounces got a price per ounce, and it's Costco, so there's a big deal. So Amazon said, well, it's the same thing, so now they're matching that price per ounce. We're seeing that on contact solutions, we're seeing that on crackers, we're seeing that on chips, on all kinds of things where Amazon's matching price per ounce now. So it's not just even about size anymore.
Yeah, so Amazon's sending out bots or crawlers to go crawl other competitive websites and look for those same items. And they're trying to match up the UPC, right? So you sold an item with the UPC, it puts that into the web and says who else is selling the same item with that same UPC and what's the price? And we're gonna match that price because Amazon wants to be as competitive as anyone else. So all of a sudden you get this downward movement in pricing. Just boom, ba boom, ba boom, right? Walmart's matching too. And then it sees Amazon lowered its price, so now Walmart goes down. Then Amazon checks Walmart, and it just becomes this drive to the bottom. And we deal with this with our brands that we work with. It's a very difficult problem to deal with, but
So
there's some ways around it.
Cool website to look at, because we're going to give you a couple of tips to go look at. You'll hear from Jungle Scout in a little bit, but it's free, called camel.com. Really hard to remember that, right?
Camel.
And that gives you this pricing history. There's a couple other tools out there that do it, but anybody can take a look at camel too. So one of the things, a lot of people come up and say, oh, I'm going to be a one-piece seller. Or they say, no, I'm going to be a three-piece seller. And there's strengths and weaknesses for each of those. But what you're going to hear more and more people talk about, especially recently, is this idea of hybrid. So the hybrid is, you've got some that are in one-piece strategy and some that are in a three-piece strategy. Now, as an individual, it's kind of tough to get that 1P, right? We go back to the invitation and the whole pricing strategy. So it kind of depends if you can really get there. But 3P is that hybrid is a good block to not put all your eggs in one basket. There's a bunch of things that are driving it from the major manufacturer. We're going to use a technical term, this idea of something crapping out. I know, really. Crapping out stands for can't realize a profit. That's Amazon's algorithm. So he was talking about that automatic price matching and everything else. So in the last, 12 months or so, Amazon started getting really aggressive with this idea of profitability, right? 17 months of continuing EBITDA increase. It's about things crapping out, and that buyers will talk to you about it. Other people will talk to you about it. 3P is a way for you to set the retail price, so you can get over some of that profitability issue because of what you're trying to do.
It's really hard to become a one-piece seller now, especially if you don't have a significant brand that's established at retail somewhere else. And we've taken brands to Amazon and they've declined them recently. But they said, no, we're fine. We have 14 brands and similar stuff here and we don't need this last brand. So it's become more and more difficult. They've eliminated some buyers, so we think we're headed towards more of a 3P model. So if I were new and starting out today, I would probably focus just on 3P for the time being. If you built up enough volume, then you might be contacted by Amazon, the 1P side, and say, hey, why don't we buy products from you? We see that you're a very successful third-party seller, and that can happen. So I'd start on the 3P side personally and build up some business.
And we've got a 3P seller that's built up enough volume. The guy sells big, huge rubberized mats. So one thing, that float in the water. So one thing they're talking about is, could Amazon buy DI? So can they buy directly from the guy's factory in China? So there's all kinds of opportunities if you can get that volume up.
Yeah, a little story, a side note. We work with a company that makes a stand-up paddleboard. It's an inflatable stand-up paddleboard. He started to import a few from China, gets them set up on Amazon as a third-party seller, gets an order for 20, 40. Next thing you know, Amazon's ordering 100 and 200. And he can't keep up with the volume because the lead time from China is months, a couple of months.
And the cash.
He doesn't want to foot the bill for $200,000 or $300,000 worth of this product on the hopes that Amazon will order it. So he couldn't keep up with the growth that Amazon kept ordering more and more. So yesterday he sends us an email. Amazon just sent him an order for $200,000 of his product. He's like, I can't fund it. I can't get it here fast enough. We're going to miss the season. So this is a great example where we should try to get a DI program, direct import program. Right, you go to Amazon and say, look, you obviously need much more product than this guy can supply. Why not buy directly from the factory? You're still buying from his company, but we're going to hook you up with the factory directly. You place your orders directly with those guys. They ship it in, done. And the funds would still flow through the company. So that's an example of really high growth. We used to represent a ping pong table company. We call it table tennis, not ping pong. And same concept there. They're so big and bulky that for us to bring them in and store them didn't make a lot of sense. They're very heavy. Shipping is incredible. So we set up a DI program, and now they're bringing in containers at a time of table tennis tables.
Super high-end diaper bag company that you guys would probably know. Same kind of thing, right? We've been working with them for about 8 years on Amazon. They couldn't keep up with orders. Now, in part, that was their strategy, because their retail strategy was make enough to get people hooked, but then run out, which doesn't work in a .com space. So ultimately, we set them up on DI, and Amazon orders probably 70% of their inventory through DI.
It's a $200 diaper bag, and we're doing millions of dollars of sales on Amazon. It's just amazing. I don't know who's buying this stuff, but it is amazing.
Not me. Okay, so
Hey, let me stop. Any questions on 3P versus 1P? We went through a lot of information. Yes, ma'am. What percentage Amazon is DI? How often they use DI? I think it's relatively low percentage, but of SKUs, but the volume is strong, because those DI programs drive a lot of volume. So I really don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we're doing it in tools and home improvement with generators. We talked about ping pong tables, diaper bags. But I don't know what the percentage is of DI.
But if you just look at our brands, we probably represent 200 brands, and 10% maybe have DI programs.
Probably.
It's,
I mean, they want you to fund it ideally, but they also get that if the traffic, right, go back to that flywheel circle, if the traffic is there, if the experience is right, then they're going to work with you to try and figure out how to get it.
Another question?
Yeah, but the DI program, what keeps Amazon from putting up the middleman? Basically successful volumes there, and they would build that brand and leverage you out of the picture. Why would they?
It's a good question, and it's been out there forever with Walmart. Walmart requires you, if you start selling to Walmart, they want to go visit your factory wherever it is. So now you have to walk them through your factory in Asia, and the fear was always, well, they can just buy this. So Walmart could do that today. Amazon can do that today. They want brands. They really don't want to put you out of business, but at the same time, they have private label brands. They have about 95 private labels, and that's growing. We know that. So big companies like, Frito-Lay's and these big CPG companies are a bit concerned about the private label side of the business. I wouldn't be too concerned about the DI. We haven't seen, of all the DI programs we've dealt with, not one have they cut out the manufacturer.
We know of 4 different ways to go through private label. That's kind of the 201 conference. So if you come back to the next suppliers conference, we can talk about private label. But Amazon is turning private label on its head with what they're doing. And that's where at least 2 of those 4 ways where they are absolutely going to cut the manufacturer and the brand out of the picture. But on DI, we've just not seen it. That's not where their focus is. Their focus is more on getting the right experience, getting the right product, getting the right consumer opportunity. That's what they care about.
And being in stock. The example we talked about, the paddle boards, they're out of stock. They have consumers that want to buy that product. They placed an order with the brand for $200,000 worth of product, and they don't have it. So the consumer has to go find some other brand they want. And there's other options out there, but that's not a good user experience. And Amazon is all about the user experience. How can we make sure what the consumer wants we have in stock when they want it? It's really important. Good question.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Any other questions?
Yes.
When Amazon becomes direct importer, then in that scenario, they're the importer of record. So now they claim the liability of that product, right? So how does that impact the agreement that they have with their sellers in terms of shifting the liability?
Yeah, they don't claim the product liability of the product. They claim the freight and the importing, right? So the paperwork related to that. But the product liability is still on the manufacturer. They're buying from the manufacturer. They just happen to be shipping it directly, okay? So they're not buying from the Chinese manufacturer. They're buying from the brand in the U.S. who has outsourced that manufacturing to some other, place, and they're buying it from them.
And they've got consolidation facilities in basically every single port in China. So for the most part, the manufacturer gets it to the port. Unlike Target.com, Target.com will actually show up at the warehouse and pick it up. So you bring it to the port, and then from that point forward, Amazon owns the responsibility for getting into the U.S., into the warehouses, and into the consumer's hands. But you, as the manufacturer, are still selling. You're still worrying about the advertising and kind of moving it forward.
We'll go through some other slides here just to help you understand what else Amazon is doing out there. They're opening up campus stores. So they want to get those consumers right in the college experience, get them early, and lock them in for the long haul. So this has become a new thing. You can order there, have products shipped in there. Getting it shipped to your dorm room is kind of tough, but now you can just bring it in here.
Yeah, college kids can get Amazon Prime membership for $5 a month. Think about that.
Amazon Move is a program to help anyone. They've realized that weddings and moving, these are events in your life that you spend a lot of money. And you need to handle certain things quickly. So they figured, hey, if you're moving, let's provide some kind of program and a discount for people that are moving. And
So
they
you
can
get
lock you in.
boxes or blinds or whatever you need for your new apartment or house at a discount.
How many know that Amazon's all over the world, right? So we represent and sell to Amazon Germany, France, UK, Japan, Australia, all over.
And think about it though, if you're setting yourself up as a 3P seller, like you're gonna think about the US market, but really you have access to every single one of these markets. And Amazon will manage the shipping and everything to go make that happen. They'll translate the content, so you as a 3P can hit every single one of these markets today.
And we'll wrap up here because we're running out of time. Voice is coming. If you don't know, we talked about that a little bit. It is really coming your way. So you'll be ordering more and more through an app, whether it's app on the phone, Siri, Alexa, et cetera.
Bunch of individual acquisitions. They're going into home environments, right? Doing a lot of stuff there. So the next one is they got a little bit on security going on. AWS is a big part of the profit driver for Amazon, which is again, back to tech being their #1 competency. So there's a lot going there. And then they've just rolled out this as a patent, which is really cool. So recently, if you're on YouTube, right, you've always got, unless you're paying for the YouTube subscription, you gotta wait for an ad to go, or you can, after sometimes 3 or 4 seconds, skip the ad. So Amazon's doing they've got a patent on a different side, which says if you watch the ad, you get a discount on the product you're gonna buy. Isn't that kind of cool? So now they're gonna really incent you to do more ads.
And of course, he's going to space too. So these billionaires have a lot of money to throw around. They got to figure out something to do with it, I guess.
So-
Kind of like Elon Musk.
If there's one constant about Amazon, if there's one constant about Amazon is that it's always changing. Don't accept that this is the answer. Like, they are after this innovation, they are after change, and it's a ton of opportunity for you.
So thank you, guys. Hopefully we gave you a little to think about, educated a little bit on Amazon. Any questions real quick before we turn it over to the next presenter?
All right, you'll hear more
Thanks,
from
guys.
us later. Thanks.